Hello everyone, this is Ralph and another Cisco Modeling Labs demo video. This time around we are looking at Radius and Windows 11 and 802.1x. We have a little topology that we are using for this with a bunch of switches, with just one switch, a Radius server, a syslog server, and a Windows workstation that we are using to demonstrate how 802.1x works and how you can replicate this within Cisco Modeling Labs. The only thing that you do need in addition to the things that are provided out of the box by Cisco Modeling Labs is a Windows workstation. You can also do 802.1x with Ubuntu, so the WPA supplicant would do the work there, but it's slightly more interesting and also probably a bit more realistic, I would say, if you use a Windows workstation. I have done a video on creating a Windows 11 workstation inside of CML, or using then the workstation or a Windows 11 image inside of CML. The link I'm going to provide in the description. And yeah, let's see how this looks like and what we have. So this is our little demo topology. You can see we have an edge node. So this is a router that actually provides network access, network address translation, so that we have access to the internet going through the external connector here. We have our access switch. So this is the device that actually does the 802.1x, that is the authenticator. And this then talks to the Radius server, which sits over here, which uses freeRadius. Then we have set up a syslog server that we will use to see the messages as they are produced on the access switch. And we have our Windows workstation here. So now let's see, we open up the panel here and we see that we do have, so this is actually the edge switch here. This is our switch here. So this just came up and it sits here. So one thing that I want to point out is that if you use VLANs on these switch devices, then sometimes, for whatever reason, I don't know the exact reason, but sometimes the VLANs don't come up okay. So let's see, we do enable here and then show IP interface brief. And as you can tell here, so this interface, even though that it should come up, is down right now. So we need to toggle this. So go like interface VLAN 1 and do a shut, type no shut. And so this should actually bring it up. And then let's see, ping 1032.0.100. So one is our syslog server and one is our Radius server. Okay, so we can ping both of these devices. So one is the syslog server, one is the Radius server up here. So that's great. So now we have our Windows workstation and that is connected to this port. And if we look at this, show run interface gigabit 1.3, then this is right now, it's a regular access port. So there is no port authentication 802.1x whatever configured at all. So in fact, nothing has been configured except for like the very basic configuration on a switch. And that's included in the topology here, and also the additional information that we need to, or the additional configuration pieces that we need to configure on the switch is also inside of this topology in the guide section over here. So if I switch over here, then it says what we need to do, right? So we need to enable AAA, so authentication, authorization, and accounting on the switch. This is a global command. We need to configure a Radius server. We need to enable authentication and authorization for network access, so .1x and network using Radius here. And then we need to turn on .1x system auth control, which enables it globally on the switch. And then we need to configure something on the interface itself. So let's do this step by step. So we fetch these commands here and like this, copy and go over to the switch again, conf t, paste this in here, paste and match style, And now we can actually do a test command towards the Radius server. So let's look at the Radius server real quick. So we see that this thing is ready to process requests. Let's just insert a few lines here. Okay, and then let's do a test AAA group radius. And then we need to provide a username and a password. This is Bob. Password is test, and then new code. Now, if I enter this, what will happen is that it will talk to the Radius server, and we see that there is the authentication has succeeded, and that we also got a few additional attributes back from the Radius server. And if you switch to the Radius server, we also see that this is okay, like this is what worked okay. So we got the login okay here. It came from a client, which is all devices. That's the name that I provided in here. This is the address from where the request came from, or actually this is the address from where the request came from. This is our address here. And this is additional attributes that are being sent back from the Radius server to the access switch in this case. So Radius works, but we haven't configured anything else on the port. So let's go back to the guide and then grab the port configuration and take this and go back to our switch, Command T, and again paste this in. Okay, and done. So this enabled .1x globally on the switch, and these commands enabled .1x on this particular port. So we can now do a show auth session interface GUI13 detail, and we will see that there is nothing right now that is happening. What we also want to do in addition is we want to do a debug .1x, and we can do like events. And now the switch will generate logs which go to our syslog server for everything that is .1x related. Okay, now let's start the Windows host here. So let's start this thing. And open up VNC, so we'll see Windows booting over here. One thing that I wanted to mention when I did the video for how to create the Windows host, I forgot two things. I updated the description for those in the Windows 11 video, but one thing is we need to, or it's recommended to disable BitLocker while installing Windows, which reduces the disk image size quite significantly. And the other one is you need to disable power savings, otherwise Windows will go to sleep for like after 15 minutes or whatnot. And it's, yeah, it looks like it's running, but it's actually not, because it has enabled power saving or sleep mode, whatever. So yeah, okay, Windows booted. And right now, let's see what this says. So nothing yet. And let's, yeah, because there is no .1x enabled on Windows itself. So log into Windows. And we can tell here that Windows itself has no internet access. So it, let's see, if we go in here, do command, and then do a IP config/all, we will see this device has assigned an automatic IP address and a PIPA IP address on Windows in Windows Talk. So, and we cannot get anywhere because we don't have a default gateway, and there is simply no access because the switch port is actually closed. So how do we enable 802.1x on Windows? So we go network and internet settings, and then to our device here. And then there's authentication settings. Now I should mention that this likely requires an attempt or two, probably like two, because this Windows version needs some updates and whatnot, but I didn't install all of these updates. They blow up the disk image size quite significantly. But it will work eventually. So we hit edit, we go in here and say like on, and then edit configuration. So what we want to select here, because we configured the Radius server in the simplest possible way, is we want to do protected EAP. And that uses an inner method of a username and a password. No, like the first one is using a certificate. We don't have a certificate. The second one is using a username and a password. The anonymous inside or private identifier, we leave that. We will see that in syslog when we look at the logs, or in the Radius logs, I should say. And then we hit save. Now this is the interesting moment. It likely won't work the first time. I've seen this like a couple of times already. So we need to go in here again. Don't ask me why. And it reverted this back to TLS, and I have still no idea why this happens. And we need to select this one again. So we're doing the same thing again. I think this is a bug in Windows, but anyway, hit save again. And now we see this like action needed. We need to sign in. So this is what we expect to see. So we hit this button, and then we see that we can now sign into our network. And now we are actually looking at user login. And if we look at the syslog, then we see that there is stuff going on now for .1x, right? We see that the switch is now asking the device, hey, tell me who you are. And we put in Bob. Password is test. And hit OK. And now we see that this is going back and forth. We see on the Windows side that we are now going to be presented, or we are presented with a certificate, which is from the Radius server, and we need to trust this. Yeah. And now it's verifying my credentials, and eventually we will be okay, I hope. Go ahead. Because what happened over here is we saw the success. So it actually did work on this end. It also likely did work on this end, as we can tell over here that we have a login okay. And this is the anonymous that we did see in Windows. We also see here the port that the request came from. So we see 0103, which is the gigabit 1/3 port. And we see the MAC address of our device. So let's verify this. Let's see over here. MAC address is ending with 72E155. So this is over here, 72E155. And let's see if we got an IP address now. Actually, we're still sitting at 169. So that's yet another thing that probably is fixed with some updates on Windows. But this should be triggered to acquire a new IP address. Once .1x has succeeded. It eventually will pick this up. And we already see that the icon down here now says internet access. Let's do this again. And yeah, so we got an address now from our little network over here, and we should be able to ping www.cisco.com. And well, eventually we will see requests coming in. So this is what we expect to see. So this all works now. Okay. Now, if we look at the syslog server again, we see, yeah, that's what we saw before already. And on the switch, we can now do again a show authentication session interface gigabit 1.3. And now we do see that we are authorized, that this is in single host mode. There's different modes, multi-host and whatnot. But this is what we want to see. Like we see an IP address that has been acquired. We see that the host has been authorized, and the port is now actually authenticated and authorized. So this is what we expect to see. Now, for one more thing that we want to see, or where we can use CML, is that we can actually look at the packets as they go back and forth. So we can hit packet capture here, and we can go back to our guide over here, and I have a sequence that is useful in this context, this one here. So we can say, hey, we want to see packets that are not TCP and that are not UDP and that are not spanning tree. So let's go back to our packet capture and hit settings, increase this slightly, and insert the BPF in here. And hit apply. Turn this off. Well, actually, yeah, we can pretty much Well, actually, we can probably just say reboot, right? And do a proper shutdown or restart here. Restart. And hit start here. So what we should see now is that when Windows comes up, so this is stuff that is likely from the inside. We probably could also have said like no ICMP or whatnot. We will see packets coming in. Did I miss it already? Actually, I did. Let's see, EAPOL. Yeah, here we go. So we see that there were packets that were sent from the switch to the device and from the device to the switch. So in this case, this is our device. This is the functional address. It's a multicast address that EAP uses. So this is being sent then to the switch, and the switch then asks, "Hey, I want to know about your identity." And then there is an EAP start and so on and so forth. So we can see how 802.1x works by using the packet capture feature over here, by looking at what the radio server says, and by looking at the switch CLI output and at the debug statements that eventually end up on our syslog server. So this is a great tool to learn how 802.1x works, and in combination with Windows, and as I said, you can also do Ubuntu and use the Ubuntu WPA supplicant there, or like the Linux WPA supplicant there. This is a great resource to study and learn 802.1x. Yep, I hope you find this useful and can play with .1x in the future yourself, and see you around the next time.